Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to do a video to show you guys a Glock magazine vulnerability. This is a Glock OEM magazine. You can see here how it says Glock. Okay, and if you look at it, it's in fairly good condition. It's not like it's scratched up. It's not like it's been dropped a million times and dragged down the ground. Other than the X's that I made here with the silver colored Sharpie. Okay, this thing looks like it's in pretty new condition, but pay attention to that little spot right there where my thumbnail is, right? You see that? You see how that it's just a tiny little nick over there. That's where the magazine release basically catches it and holds it into place. So that tiny little nick on this relatively soft plastic, because if you put your nail here and you rub it, you can actually feel your nail digging into the plastic a little bit. So this soft plastic appears to be a problem with the OEM magazines, because that tiny little nick there, okay, it'll catch it, but if I go to chamber around, it drops free, does not chamber around. Okay, got it to hold. Okay, it's not holding. So that's because of that tiny little nick. Now, before you say that, hey, that's not an OEM Glock 43, the magazine release over here, that is OEM, right? So the internal parts are OEM. That plastic magazine release is the only part that really makes contact with that over there. Now, what probably happened here at some point, and I don't know if it was on the G43 or some other one, I probably had a jam. I don't know if I was doing malfunction drills where I was, like I say, putting in dummy rounds, or to induce malfunctions, or while I was like debugging it. But at some point, I probably had a double feed or something where I had to kind of lock the gun open and rip out the magazine, and that action of ripping out the magazine is probably what bent that little plastic there up, and it is preventing it. Like, it'll actually click, right? Like, I'll put it in and it'll click, right? You heard the click. If I tug on it, it's staying in there. It's not pulling out. But when I chamber around, well, that time it didn't drop it, but and that time it actually chambered the round. Let's fire a couple of shots over here. See if it stays in. Okay. So if I one round, dead trigger, and it dropped the magazine. Okay. So that's something that you guys gotta really be aware of with your Glock OEM magazines, right? Because the plastic is really soft, and if it gets eaten out just a little bit there, you might actually get it, it'll click in there, right? You'll get it to click. You might even get it to chamber around. Yeah, chambered around, right? That time earlier I couldn't even get it to chamber around. It was just going over. But this time, now it's chambering around. But now it will fire one round, and then it will release the magazine. It won't chamber the next round. Again. Right, there you go. See? Fired one round, dropped the magazine, nothing fed. Okay, let's just demonstrate that it's not a problem with the gun. I got another one here. Okay, so this one is actually going in. With the other one, I had to push it a little bit harder. With this one, it's just going right in. So it is also, the other magazine is also a little harder to get in there and get it to click. All the way to lockout. Okay, so not a gun problem. That is specifically a magazine problem. Now the magazine didn't come to me like this when I got it. It was in brand new condition. At some point, by pulling it out, it actually got a little bit worse now. Right. Okay, so if you see anything like this, that's not going to retain the magazine. Okay, so watch out for this in your OEM magazine. Okay, that's not going to maintain the magazine. And as you can see, this is in fairly new condition, which kind of sucks because they're like $25 magazines. It's a $25 magazine that's now useless. Well, actually, it's not useless to me. I'm going to use this as a training tool for training people, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I know which it's a bad magazine because I have X's on it, but when I mix this into the other magazines that people are using to train, they're not going to know it's a bad magazine, and they're going to have problems, and they have to figure out what to do when they get a magazine that doesn't, you know, that is not staying in the gun. So depending on what, because they might not realize that the magazine drops. So they gotta instantly figure out what they gotta do. They gotta do in this case, they're gonna do the tap and rack, right? They're gonna come out, right? Tap, rack. Okay. So I can use this magazine for those type of drills, right? For tap and rack drills. So I'm gonna get, you know, I'm gonna get my money's worth out of it. And if you get a magazine like this, you can also use it to train the same way. Just make sure that you mark it clearly, so that you know this is a bad magazine. So, you know, one of the things I was thinking of is, like, I don't know why Glock makes these magazines with this soft plastic, because this seems like the problem is inevitable. This is a problem, because if that's all it takes to hold the magazine in place, right, that little thing over there, then yeah, you can definitely see how that's going to wear out over time. So that's one of the reasons why because most of the people I train with like G17s. I like to use the ETS magazines because the plastic on this is actually harder, right? It does not seem to get eaten in that place over there, right? If you look now, this one's got like thousands of rounds on it, right? You can see how dirty it is. So you can see over thousands of rounds, because I got like a box of like maybe 30 of these, but I'll sometimes do like 2,000 to 4,000 rounds a month spread over like 20 or 30 of these magazines. So there's no wear on this. So that's one of the reasons why I really like working with the ETS magazines. First of all, they're cheap, so if I do break them, you know, these things are only like $10 to $12, as opposed to like the $25 to $30. Now there's no these have other problems. The springs inside get weak over time, right? So these are problematic. I am not recommending that you use these for everyday carry or for any serious self-defense, you know, home defense. You know, use the Glock OEM magazines, but just be aware that this plastic is a lot softer than this plastic. So if that gets eaten up, actually on this side, if that gets eaten up, you're gonna have problems with your magazine. So this brings up the other point. The reason why we carry a spare magazine, okay? The purpose of the spare magazine, where you got like a 7-round magazine, like this Glock 43, or a 17-round magazine for this G17, the purpose of the spare magazine is not just so that in case you get into this humongous gunfight where you go through 17 rounds, right? That's not the purpose of the extra magazine. The purpose of the extra magazine is to fix the broken gun, basically. Okay. Now it might be that the gun is not working because there's a problem with the ammunition in there, the way it was loaded, or the magazine itself might be faulty. You're not going to know that, right? So the solution that you want, if the gun isn't working, you want a solution that is going to fix the most wide variety of problems. So that solution is going to be to get that magazine out and put a different magazine in there. That one step is going to fix the greatest number of possible problems, which you don't know for sure at that point, which, you know, exactly what the problem is. So that's the reason why we carry a spare magazine. It's not just so in case we need more ammunition. It's to fix the gun that's no longer working for whatever reason, right? Whether it's because the gun's not working, you know, it might be the ammunition's bad, it might be the magazine's bad. You're not going to know. You're not going to know that you've got, you know, a little fault like this in the middle of a gunfight, right? You're not going to see that. So that's, you know, the easiest, fastest thing to do is just change the magazine. But going beyond that, I don't know why Glock makes these magazines with this soft plastic. because basically they have a steel inner body with a soft plastic outer body, and you can see the problems with that. So here's the thing: a lot of people say that, hey, Glocks, 100% reliable. No, they're not. Because if the magazine goes bad, the gun's not 100% reliable. Okay, but that applies to any gun, right? Even if it's a gun that has a magazine body that's all steel. Well, what happens when you drop? If that gets dropped on the feed lips, I've seen those all steel magazine bodies bend, right? So if the feed lips get bent, that magazine's not going to work either. Okay, so the magazine is a great vulnerability. It's probably one of the most vulnerable things of your gun. So that's why we carry the extra magazine to fix, to change out the vulnerable magazine when it stops working. But anyway, I wanted to show that to you guys because I thought that was really interesting the way this broke. It kind of came as a surprise to me. Basically, I was just out practicing today, and all of a sudden I got this magazine that's just not, that keeps popping out of the gun. And then upon closer inspection, I see this. Now, an interesting thing is with these, with the Gen 5, because this G43 is a Gen 5, it's a reversible magazine release. So if I reverse this so that it pushes out on the left side, the magazine would actually work. Because instead of catching on this side, it's going to catch on that side, which is not faulty, right? So I could use this as a lefty. I'm not, but I'm just going to keep this as a training mag that's marked. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I wanted to share that with you guys today. Thanks for watching. Drop some comments below. Let me know what you guys think. But yeah, I wish Glock would use like a harder plastic, because it's probably not. I don't think this is the first time I've seen this happen. Okay. So thanks for watching. Talk to y'all soon. Hey everyone, I was reviewing the video and I saw something I wanted to clear up. When I was showing you the ETS magazine, I was actually showing you the wrong side. I was showing you this side instead of that side. So I have a couple ones over here. And again, these have literally thousands of rounds on them. So I pulled them out of a box. All right, so if you look at these ETS ones, right, even after thousands of rounds, there's no wear over there. Okay, so and the reason for that is because this is a harder plastic. Now that said, there's other issues that I have with these magazines. Primarily the springs wear out. Basically the springs wear out over time, right? If you shoot thousands of rounds through the gun like I do, these do wear out. So I wanted to put that out there. The other thing I wanted to put out there is these ETS ones here are for the Glock 17. For the Glock 43, I only use the OEM ones, the Glock OEM ones, because when I tried, the ETS ones are just a tiny bit thinner, and when I put that into the gun, it had a little bit of play, and basically I did have some reliability issues. So the ETS ones seem to be a lot more reliable on the Glock 17s, 19s, 26s, even on the Polymer 80s, right? But the ETS ones on the 43, and this goes for both the OEM frame G43 and the Polymer 80 43. The 7-round ETS ones are just a tad bit thinner, so I do not recommend them. So I wanted to kind of stick that out there. The other thing that I wanted to tell you guys that I think is very important, if your magazine body is plastic, right, the magazine release has to also be plastic, which is what, if you get like an OEM lower parts kit, that's what it's going to be. Now, if you get like a Shield Arms magazine, right, because they make these aftermarket Shield Arm magazines that have increased capacity, that has a steel body, right? So they make a steel body that has a little bit more space in there. Well, because that has a steel body, you also have to buy a steel magazine release, right? Because basically, if you have a plastic magazine, you have to have a plastic magazine release. If you have a steel magazine, then the magazine release has to be steel too, right? Because otherwise, the steel magazine release is gonna eat up the the plastic magazine body, or reverse. If this is steel and that's plastic, it's gonna eat up the plastic magazine release. So basically, you can't have steel working against plastic because the plastic is gonna get worn out. Okay, so they either both the magazine and the release have to both be plastic, or they both have to be steel. Okay, so that's also something really important, and also very important for you guys to know is that that's something I thought was important, because I didn't want somebody to come along and say that the reason why that other one got worn out is because at some point I had a steel magazine release in there. No, I don't. I do have a Shield Arms, Shield Arms. I think it's a 9-round magazine for Glock 43 that I had tested out and reviewed. It had like a 1% error rate, so I stopped using it. But at the time that I was testing it out, basically I had matched up the steel magazine release with the steel, magazine body. Okay, and I never, basically I that's how I was working with it. Okay, so that I just wanted to put it out there because I didn't want somebody to think that the reason why that other magazine got worn out is because I was using a steel magazine release. So thanks for watching. Talk to y'all soon.